So I have a confession to make. I have been dealing with probably the worst art block I have ever experienced in my entire life over the past couple of months, and it has sucked. Art block is something that every creator will struggle with at one point in their life, but it's still a really terrible thing to experience when you feel like nothing is working, nothing that you're making is good enough, and nothing inspires you. Everything just kind of sucks, and it's really difficult to get over that. But I think I finally have. I think over the past couple of weeks, I have finally managed to escape that just like terrible pit of despair that was my art block. And in this video, I want to share with you my experiences of dealing with art block and some tips that you might find useful in escaping your own. And thank you so much to Squarespace for sponsoring this week's video. First things first, I think it's important to self-reflect a little bit and figure out whether or not your art block is actually being caused by something else going on in your life or in the world. Be that fears about AI or stuff going on at work or at school or at home. For me, my art block was definitely caused by something else. It was caused mostly by feelings of kind of like imposter syndrome, of just like generally being unsatisfied creatively and struggling at work. So making art and video content is my job. Like, this is what I do for a living, right? But ever since the beginning of this year, my content has performed the worst it ever has since I took this full time, which is a little bit concerning. Like, that's a little bit worrying, but I also know that I've weathered storms like this before, and a part of me like is confident and does know that it's a matter of when and not if I get over this slump. And while acknowledging the feelings causing your art block, like the underlying issue behind it, is great, it likely won't be enough to get you out of it. To do that, you have to actually address the problem, however you can. For me, that meant reviving my ideas for a second channel and really making a plan on how I was going to change my content and get back on track. It meant that because my performance was so kind of down in the dumps on my main channel, that I was going to experiment more. I had nothing to lose, right? And on my second channel, to be more creatively fulfilled, I was going to make a series of videos, and I am making a series of videos on kind of my own art journey, more directly related to my goals as an artist, and that has really helped me feel more creatively fulfilled. But your problem, your underlying issue might not be as clear-cut. It might be something more nebulous, like AI art worries or whatever it may be, things that you don't have actually direct control over. And that sucks. There is no good solution for that, right? Except thinking about whether excessively worrying about it is actually constructive. Oh my God, buddy. Because I think there's a difference between worrying about something and actually taking action because of that, and just worrying that doesn't do anything for you, that provides no additional benefit. I have tons of concerns about everything all the time. I'm a very anxious person, and I have to remind myself that sometimes worrying about things beyond a certain point just isn't actually constructive, and that it really deprives me of joy in the moment, and that isn't actually very valuable to me. Does that make sense? Like, I think if that is your situation, if your underlying problem that's causing your art block is just not a thing that you can take any action toward, then you simply have to resolve to try and not let it bother you as much. And that's much easier said than done, but still a thing worth attempting, I think. But trying to do what I could to address my own problem did actually help. Like, it really did make a difference. I feel more creatively fulfilled now than I used to, and I feel comforted by the fact that while my videos aren't doing great right now, I have a plan in place to change that over time and get back on track, and that really made a difference for me. But that also wasn't the only thing that I did to get over my art block. I incorporated a couple of other pretty important changes to my lifestyle that really made the difference. But before we get into that, I do want to thank the sponsor of this week's video, Squarespace. Squarespace is an amazing tool for artists and by far my favorite all-in-one website creation platform. They have award-winning templates and amazing customer support. They literally have all of the features that you will need as an artist to start displaying and selling your work online. I recently added prints to my online shop for the first time, and I was once again just blown away by how easy it was to sell stuff on Squarespace. Their third-party integrations made selling my prints on demand just really easy, and with the tax jar integration, I can collect and remit sales tax automatically. No more panic attacks whether I'm doing everything right, which is fantastic because that sucked. Squarespace just has consistently delivered features that have made my life so much easier. They can be the central location for your brand on the internet, linking to all of your platforms, serving as a portfolio in an online store, and whatever you need it to be. And with their fluid engine and amazing design tools, I can make my website look exactly the way that I want it to without having to compromise on any of the aesthetics. And as someone who has a ton of opinions on how my art looks online, this is amazing for me. If you want to try out Squarespace for yourself, go to squarespace.com/Kelsey Rodriguez and use code Kelsey Rodriguez for 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain. And thank you so much to Squarespace for sponsoring this week's video. This is such a mess. This is so chaotic. Is this video even going to be worth posting? I have no idea. Okay. Look at his claws just like fully extended. Oh my god. Okay. So the other really important thing that I did that helped me break out of my art block was to actually very deliberately go outside of my comfort zone. So I'm a really introverted person. I do not like crowds. I'm not very sociable, period, if I'm being 100% honest. And I just really love existing in my apartment and making stuff. That's just kind of me. That's just kind of who I am. But I was invited to this creator camp. It was in this log cabin in Salt Lake City, Utah. It was an amazing time with so many other fantastic creators. And on that trip, I met so many amazing people on that trip, and it was just overall fantastic. This was in that period of my life where I was just really in the thick of my art block. I was pushing myself outside of my comfort zone, but I was still just not really feeling very confident about my abilities as an artist, as a creator. I was feeling lots of imposter syndrome. It was just generally not a good time for me at all. But while I was on that trip, I had this opportunity to try silversmithing. Silversmithing is making jewelry and stuff out of silver, and I made this necklace. I fully made this necklace, not the chain, but the pendant. I soldered it all together, I polished it, I did all of these weird little things, these tiny little tools, and it was great. It was fun. It was just this awesome use of my creativity and my fine motor skills, and it was really great to just remind myself that I'm a person with skills and abilities and self-worth, and even though my art isn't great right now, I do still have that underlying ability that maybe I'm struggling to use right now, but that I still have. And that was a really, really great confidence boost at a really vital time that helped me just really, really feel more optimistic and get out of that just pit of despair of negative thinking that I was encountering whenever I wanted to do anything creative. And trying that entirely new discipline was really valuable for me. It really allowed me to, again, just remind myself that I'm a person with skills and talent. And so I think getting out of your comfort zone, be that socially, personally, whatever, or artistically, like silversmithing, try glass blowing, blacksmithing, whatever you want. Use a new format, a new material, a new color palette, a new subject, whatever you can to break out of that norm for you and just try something different and unlock that latent creativity that you have within you. That had such an enormous impact for me. It was really just such a great opportunity for me to unlock that creativity and remind myself that I'm a person with value again. The other thing that really helped was just going out and living my life. As a social media content creator, as an art YouTuber, it's pretty lonely like this. I'm not gonna lie, the majority of my workday of my life is just me in this apartment making stuff and thinking about YouTube and strategy and products and art and oil painting and whatever. And that is amazing. I love that setup so much. I need my alone time, do not get me wrong, but it is very isolating. And it's difficult to remember to leave the apartment and go outside and touch grass and experience new things. And whenever I do that, I feel so much better. But I always forget. And so it takes a lot of just deliberate reminders for me to get out and live my life. But my life is what feeds my art. That is what inspires me. I don't get a lot of inspiration from just existing in this space. I have to just go out there outside of my comfort zone, living my life, trying new things, and just experiencing the world and nature. And for me, that is what has the most impact. I recently went on a long weekend hiking trip to Monterey, Big Sur, and Pinnacles National Park, and it was one of the most inspiring experiences I've had in a long time. It was amazing to get out there and do hikes and just experience the beauty and majesty of nature, of just the gorgeous mountains and the California wildflower super bloom that's happening right now, and just all of the amazing stuff that exists out there in the world that I can forget about when I am just in this desk in this apartment. And it was really amazing to just try something new and to just live my life and have those experiences and make those memories. I took over 800 reference photos and I came back just so invigorated and ready to keep creating. Within 24 hours of arriving home, I was able to crank out a painting that I'm honestly really proud of, that I really like, and that broke my art block, that it just flowed out of me. It was so easy. And that was just such an amazing realization that getting outside of my comfort zone, addressing those feelings, and living my life is the recipe that I needed to overcome these feelings of imposter syndrome and self-doubt and just insecurity about my skill set. It made all of the difference. And if none of that works for you, then there's really only one thing left, and that is to simply push through it. I recently did this master study of this painting by this Russian Impressionist painter, Konstantin Korovin, on my second channel. It took me 3 solid tries to get that painting right. It was a challenge, not gonna lie. It was a lot. And I had to just decide that I wasn't gonna stop doing this study. I wasn't gonna stop making these new versions until I reached a point where I had something that I was happy with. And that was a decision that I made, right? It was a lot. I was really committing. It was frustrating. It was painful, but eventually I troubleshooted enough to a point where I did create something that I really enjoyed, where I reached a point where I had something that I considered a success. And that was a good realization too, that if nothing else works for me, I can just sit down and push through it sometimes. And that was really helpful. Like I said, it's not always possible to implement changes and resolve that underlying issue causing your art block. And it's not always possible to try new things or drop everything and go out for a long hike, but it is possible to make small changes to your environment, to use a new pen, to clean your desk, to go outside and go to a park, whatever you can to break out of that norm and just experience something a little bit different, to unlock that creativity in a new way. That will help, I promise. And that's really all the tips that I have for you in this video. If you want to keep supporting the work that I'm doing on this channel and on my second channel, I would highly recommend that you check out the prints in my online shop, but also our free community Discord server. It's free to join. You can chat with me and everyone else. It's a great time, but if you wanted to pitch in and support the stuff that I'm doing, you can become a server subscriber, which means that you pay a little bit every month and you get exclusive videos, audio newsletters, and live Q&As with me personally, which is a good time. It's amazing. So check that out if you're interested, and that is all from me. I will see you in the next one. Bye, guys.